here we go here. This is an event that to some people it may not be all that attractive or appealing to, but to me it is, because I've spent so much time up in Land Between the Lakes in northwest Kentucky, and unless you're familiar with Land Between the Lakes, you're probably not going to be that interested in what's going on. But the fact of the matter is, these are the very people that tried to ruin my life, and because of what that they have done, they have embarked upon problem after problem after problem, and now the problem is pertaining to issuing out various law enforcement agencies, or law enforcement men and women that at one time they had and now they don't. Well, whenever you're dealing with a bunch of yahoos up there that basically done what they done to me, towards going all the way out to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and transforming me back over here to Western Kentucky in Trigg County, being ruled under a Judge Woodall at the time, towards basically taking almost a year of my life, almost 10 months of my life out, over 2 telephone calls that was non-threatening and in apologetic form that was spanned out in the space of a 90-day period. Whenever you're dealing with this type of illegitimacy, no wonder all this bad luck has befallen upon to this agency. Let's listen to what she's got to say here real quick, and then we'll discuss a little bit more on the end.
Understaffed law enforcement at Land Between the Lakes. We first told you Tuesday that the topic was discussed between the Lyon County Sheriff and Republican Senator Rand Paul when he was here visiting. Well, now Republican Congressman James Comer is touching on the subject as well. He was the featured speaker at yesterday's Paducah Area Chamber of Commerce Power and Partnership Breakfast. He tells us he and his office have been in contact with federal agencies to make sure LBL is adequately funded for both programs and law enforcement. He said it's an ongoing conversation. As you know, the park has its own law enforcement officers, but that number is dwindling. In the 60s, there were 27 officers assigned to patrol the area. Today, there are just 3.
All right, let's back up. And I'm
Brianna Clark. It is 8:57 on your Friday. Continuing coverage on the issues surrounding...
I want to explain something. There was Dwayne Camry, badge number 1313, working for this outfit. Between him, Gary Hawkins, and Lisa Hawkins, that worked towards the dispatch in this area, that basically tried everything in the world towards ruining an individual's life that's the individual speaking to you right now. They actually enhanced the ideal to the degree that they wound up shutting down a Kentucky dam up around Grand Rivers, Kentucky, going over towards Benton, Kentucky. Simply because I was trying to help people and warn people about electrical disturbances to come. And of course, as you can see throughout the various weather patterns towards what's going on in the western United States pertaining to all the fires and the grids having to be shut down, of possibly causing more fires. You can see where there's almost 1 million people right now after 4 days, or 4 or 5 days since the Hurricane Irene, or whatever his name was, hit down there in southern Louisiana, pertaining to New Orleans, and that same storm come up to New York and New Jersey and up towards the northeast, that caused havoc towards their electricity being torn out, and tornadoes and flooding. In addition to what went on in Waverly, Tennessee about 2 weeks ago, killing over 20 people. I think now the death rate in New York is over 40 or 45, possibly reaching into the 50s, pertaining to the people that has perished during that event. The bottom line is this: whenever those people was attacking me, God was attacking them. He attacked them by allowing for about 3 inches of ice to come into their world shortly after that I was up there in 2009, fasting and praying for a revival and fasting and praying for peace upon to the earth. Then he allowed for, I guess, a guy that was either drinking or fell asleep running a barge to hit one of their main corridors, a bridge that caused a whole section of their bridge to fall out over by Aurora, Kentucky, going over into Trigg County, Kentucky, Cadiz, Kentucky. So these people have been inundated by all kinds of horrors that they have brought up into their own lives. I pray for these people, I really do, because the Yahoo type atmosphere that I was having to deal with, 2 or 3 other older cops at the time, and plus there was a young cop, what was his name, Rocky at the time, and another young guy that lived over in the Aurora area. I don't forgot his name, but he had a bunch of dogs. He was into knives and stuff. But the way that they was railroading their citizens, not just me, but lots of people had lots of problems with this agency up there. It's no wonder that they're dealing with the problems that they're dealing with in Land Between the Lakes. Now, to say all of that, I say this. I don't wish for that agency to have all this bad luck. I'm going to repeat that. I do not wish for this agency that participated or allowed for various people to participate in this type of activity any bad luck. But what I do wish for is justice, because the Bible says that vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. I truly believe that one day my story will be told in what that they done in using me for a ploy towards getting another bridge built, $400-500 million bridge. I guess it would be just north, maybe west of the dam that they shut down up in Paducah, Kentucky, simply because they wanted to turn that dam basically into a park. That way it cut off all the traffic flowing through or on the dam, and basically they could use it for a pier bridge or a fishing pier. They could use it for a resort recreation area. That way they diverted the traffic off from the dam up the road, give or take about a quarter of a mile. Well, they was using me to convince various law agencies up in Frankfort, Kentucky, I think that's where their capital is, that they just had to have these funds to build this bridge because they was dealing with so many people that was threatening to blow their dam up. I never threatened to blow their dam up. I don't blow dams up. If you blow dams up, you're going to cause not only property damage, but possibly also physical damage. These people's minds was inserting and their imaginations was running wild to the degree that I said something about electrical disturbances, and the next thing you know, they had implanted it into their own hearts and minds that I was going to create the electrical disturbance. Well, the very thing that I had told them about in 2007 come true in 2009 whenever they got bombarded by about 3 inches of ice that caused about 80 counties to be issued a state of an emergency by their governor that basically shut them down for not for days but weeks. In the meantime, I go up into Livingston County, gonna help in Grand Rivers, Kentucky, and after about 3 or 4 days doing free humanitarian work with the fire department up there, they discovered who I was and they run me out of that area. Well, I go to the other end of the county and they run me out of that county. They run me out of that area. So anybody that is gunning for somebody the way that they was gunning for me, or hunting me down, or wanting to destroy my life the way that they was destroying my life, there's no doubt this is the reason why that all this hardship has fallen upon to this agency towards them not having proper law enforcement agencies up there to protect various people during their hype of camping season and fishing and hunting season and hiking season. I mean, give or take, they're supposed to have about 3.5 million people come up to Land Between the Lakes during their tourist year from year to year. Well, if you got 3.5 million people coming into your area, for surely to God, you could pay more than just 3 cops. I'm sure one takes an 8-hour shift, one takes another 8-hour shift, another one takes an 8-hour shift. You know, it covers 24 hours. I'm pretty sure that you can, because Land Between the Lakes is a very, very big area. It's about, you ever take about 11, 12, 15 miles wide, and it's about 60 miles long. And it's got all kinds of various parks. And I'm surprised that the system hadn't overwhelmed itself to the point that they're not getting more complaints about this than what I'm doing. Because I have heard of lots of complaints coming from this agency. I don't know if they just thought that they could railroad everybody that come in there, because I've heard of people actually picking yellow wildflowers and being charged $200 and $400 because they picked a wildflower. Some of the craziest stuff that I've heard that has happened up there in that area, Land Between the Lakes, going all the way back to the 30s, whenever TVA first dammed up not just one side, but the other side pertaining to Lake Barkley. They put 2 dams up. Well, the other one was more like a spillway. I don't think it was an actual dam. It may produce electricity. That tells you how much I know about the deal up there. But whenever TVA dammed all that stuff up, since then, they've been having major issues with their citizens in that area after basically running them all out in the mid to late 60s, early 70s, and telling everybody that they wasn't welcome, and basically stealing property from people and giving them peanuts on their ground. So because of an agency that has been doing this again and again and again to their citizens, there's no wonder that hardship hasn't befallen upon to this agency in Land Between the Lakes. Once more, is this something that I want? No, it's not. Did I want the bridge? Did I want a captain of a tugboat to hit the bridge and cause the bridge to fall out? No, I did not. But I'm just telling you, whenever you're dealing with drug-infested people that's obviously out of their minds, that has caused so much havoc in my personal life, not only did I get studied by Four Rivers Behavior Center, and the woman gave me an A+, not only did I get studied in MCC in downtown Chicago by Dr. Dana for almost 6 months, that gave me an A+, but then turned around and forced another evaluation into my life towards going out to Oklahoma and picking me up and taking almost a year out of my life for another evaluation. Same group of people. I'm not lying to you. I can prove all this. I can validate it on paper. And wound up putting me on Risperdal that caused obesity, and now I have underlying health conditions because of it. These people have railroaded their citizens in Western Kentucky to the point that they have cowered them down in exchange towards nobody resisting this type of evil demonic movement. And that's exactly what's been going on, especially since the 60s, whenever Kennedy flew over the piece of property and declared it a total loss and turned it into a federal refuge. It has been problem after problem after problem after problem pertaining to this piece of ground, pertaining to their citizens up in this area. So because of that, there's no doubt that they're probably diminishing in help, because probably don't nobody want to go to work for them, because they're ashamed to tell other people who they're working for, regardless of what type of payroll that they may have for the general police officer that works there. I'd never been dealt with anything like this on the level that I was dealt with pertaining to a federal forest up in Western Kentucky. And the only thing that I've asked is to be able to tell my story fluently and predominantly to be able to prove that in which what has happened in testimony form pertaining to validating what has already been put on paper in exchange towards what has happened up there in that area. And man, if you get to telling them that you're going to go public with your story, oh my God, you've created the cardinal sin. You're not supposed to defy us that way. Juby, this is the Commonwealth state of Kentucky. We can do our citizens any way that we want to do them because we're a federal entity. Well, their federal entity, I can see, has went through a great deal of remorse. And I personally believe that the remorse has come upon to this agency because of the illegitimacies towards how that they have railroaded their citizens. Not just me once more, not just me, but several people in that area. They have done wrong, total wrong. They have, like I said, charged people for cutting down a flower, drop a piece of bubble gum wrapper and get charged $250 for littering. Just basically just cause just all kinds of havoc in people's lives around there. The whole agency, the Land Between the Lake agency, needs to be completely disassembled. And a brand new group of people come in there that knows the laws, that knows how to do things appropriately, including with the Forest Service, that can manage something like that properly. Because like I said, it's not a small little park like a 2 or 3 acre park or a 10 acre park. This is, I don't forgot now how many thousands and thousands of acres that this thing is. And they even begin to famine that they only have 3 police officers patrolling this area with all them RV parks up there. And they got Wranglers Park up there. They've got Hillman's Ferry Park up there. In addition to Piney Park that they have on the Tennessee side and all the other little parks that they got up there. I just can't imagine that 3 officers can even properly police one park, much less all them parks. You'll be surprised what police presence will do towards maintaining and governing a group of people. And whenever a group of people knows that there ain't no law around them, well, they basically got free range towards doing whatever they want to do in whatever format that they want to do it. In other words, they're going from one extreme to another here. They're going from trying to govern the people and strong-arming the people in that area too much, to the point that now they've released all their officers or fired them, or they've all retired or resigned or something. And now they've only got 3. So now, instead of governing the area, we're not governing at all. We're just letting whatever happens here. Well, Land Between the Lakes has been known of having some very, very crucial, illegitimate people come into there and either kill people or wanting to take their own lives by suicide. There has been some extreme problems in Land Between the Lakes ever since the water flooded it and the people got irritated because of all the ground that had been taken from them. And then in the 60s, they declared it a total loss and turned it into a federal refuge. And that sure enough upset the apple cart. So the apple cart that I'm talking about isn't just my apple cart. This needs to actually have some sort of a federal probe, an investigation towards what has actually went on with this agency. And I'm saying this in a very, very respectful way, but they had so much close ties with the bad guys around the surrounding 6 or 7 counties in that area, to the point that they had their clonies and they could basically do whatever that they wanted to do to whoever that they wanted to do it to. And people like me didn't have no rights. A matter of fact, they could not only do character assassination on people like me, but then try to set me up like I was some sort of a homegrown terrorist around a dam. I have went through one extreme after another pertaining to those people up in western Kentucky. But I've also gone through the same similar situations with people out in Oklahoma and people right here in my own home state in Tennessee. I guess the only thing to do is wait until all these people die out And then maybe there'll be somebody that has the decency about them or concernment about them that they're willing to sit and hear my story because I can validate it. I can prove it. So until then, I make tapes, I make videos, I make data videos like I'm doing right now, and I tell my story the way that I'm telling it. Understaffed law enforcement. That's the headlines. I wonder why. Pertaining to an agency that thought that they was going to be able to go in there and rule people like they was some sort of tyrants. Drove all the way from Kentucky to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma to pick up an individual over 2 non-threatening telephone calls. Did not break any violation. Did not threaten nobody. But yet now took almost a year out of my life, in addition to the money that I lost, in addition to losing my job, in addition to losing my health. Now, if that ain't saying something about the program up there, I'll kiss your tail and give you 30 minutes to draw a crowd. Because that's exactly what Post 1, the state trooper's office between Mayfield, Kentucky and Paducah, Kentucky, was involved in, as well as Livingston County, pertaining to various individuals in Grand Rivers and the surrounding towns. They got the police, Paducah police, involved, plus they got other agencies involved throughout the counties, other counties, and especially got Trigg County involved, because I'm guessing this, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure that I'm nailing the nail on the head. I guess that's where Gary Hawkins and Lisa Hawkins lives, and I had never ever been to their house. I don't want to go to their house, and I could care less about where they live. But to hear the report that they put out, man, I'd done already been to their house, and they was just intimidated to death about me, because they already had plans of where they was going to go and what they was going to do in case I addressed the problem up there where they was living. Had no idea where them people lived. These people purposely lied. And this agency in behind these people backed them. Got the federal United States government in behind them, the long arm of the law that went all the way out to Oklahoma to grab up a person and destroy his life. The person that I'm talking, the person that's talking right now, me, and can prove it. And still to this day can't get nobody, no attorneys, no type of law enforcement people to come to me and say, Jimmy, did this really happen? Can you really prove this? And yes, I can. I can validate everything that I'm saying about these people. These people were some of the cruelest, rudest, unprofessional people that I've ever been around in my entire life. And I realized, I went out there and I made myself I made myself present. You know, whenever you go up into a woods, basically throughout the span of every time I'd go up there and camp, and when I'd go up there fasting and praying, of the span of probably a year or better. Well, whenever you're up there for a year or better in their woods, and you drive around and you're going places and you're doing things, guess what? They're going to figure who you are. They're going to figure out who you are. Especially whenever you had a pappy, my dad, that called them up as I was leaving Florida in 2007 and told them, I don't know how he got their number, called the Kentucky authorities up in LBL because he knew that I was going back to LBL because that's where the original sacred site was. Called him up and told him, said, stop my son at all cost. He's on a suicide mission. Stop him at all cost. Well, whenever you have a parent that does something like that, an illegitimate parent that puts you on the radar screen, not only are you going to be in their sight towards where you are and what you're doing, but eventually various people are going to get to making up lies about you. They're going to be creative because you're in there and they don't like you in there. In other words, they felt threatened by me being up there for so long, living in the woods like Jeremiah Johnson. So because of it, they couldn't just walk up without no reason and take a billy club and knock me in the head or shoot me. So they used other tactics to be able to discourage me from staying up there. And yeah, it has discouraged me to the point that I don't even want to go in the state of Kentucky, much less go up in the LBL. And that's exactly what they wanted to do. And because of it, now instead of seeing peace formigated up onto this planet, I'm seeing total chaos. Total chaos that has erupted in one form or the other. Once more, I go back to the original statement that I've made before, and I'll make again. These people in this location, in the Bible Belt area, has not, did not, are not standing up for true peace and utopia. Because if they did, they would be at my door doing this. How can we help you, Mr. Jackson? What can we do to help you get your message out to the general public? We support you, and we want peace too in our neighborhoods. We want our children not to be raped. We want good jobs. We want good health care insurance. We want our nation to be stable. We don't want all these killings and all these drug overdoses in our area. What can we do, Mr. Jackson, to help you in your endeavors that God has inspired you with to formulate peace? Hadn't got a door knock one. Hadn't got a telephone call one. Hadn't got one human being that has stepped on the grounds of 291 Thompson Road, Sharon, Tennessee, zip code 38255. A matter of fact, they're still snarling at me. They're snarling and they're growling at me like a bunch of wild animals. Or they're sulling like a bunch of cats. You know how a cat will get mad at you and she'll sull up? She won't have nothing to do with you, maybe for 2 or 3 hours or maybe a day or so. Yeah, that's what they're doing around here. They're sulling or they're snarling up like vicious animals, just waiting for me to make one mistake or say one thing that's inappropriate or something that I can't back up. And whenever they do, they're going to lunge on top of me again. We got him, we got him, we got him. Well, you got him all right. Now the getting's coming back to you towards your family and your life being ruined. Your jobs has been taken. Your daughter is now dating a drug addict. Your grandchild has been born deformed and something wrong with her or something wrong with him. Oh, you got it all right. You got it. You're paying the cost towards what went on in 1988 whenever Ronald Reagan and the Bush family decided that they was going to take this ministry and sweep it under the rug and not only act as if that it didn't occur, but actually formulate various people working through the federal and state governments to attacking the attacking the ministry, hoping that the ministry or the founder of the ministry would eventually perish. And not only did that seed get planted up on the upper levels of the government, but it has ciphered down now to the states and now to the counties, now to the very neighborhood that I live in. And because of it, it has created all this atmosphere of hate mongering. Why do they hate Juby for? They hate Juby because they hate revelations. They hate the end time message that I didn't have nothing to do with personally. John the Revelator did. God, it's a good thing that he's already been dead for about 1900 years. God, it's a good thing that Jesus Christ, the main leader of the belief, has been dead about 2,000 years. But little do they know that he's still alive and he sits on the right hand of God. And it will be God and the Lord Jesus Christ that will judge these people. Not just in the surrounding community, not just over in Kenton, Tennessee and Obion County, not just in Sharon or Martin or Dresden or Greenfield or the surrounding areas of all the churches that I've worked that are fully aware of the founder of the Windmill Ministries that chosen not to either support or chose to sit back while he was being attacked. But God himself will judge these people up in Kentucky as well as Oklahoma pertaining to what that they have done, not just in my personal life, but in all the Christians' lives, the way that they have hounded them, the way that they have set them up, the way that they have entrapped them, the way that they have attacked their character in trying to make them look like monsters or make them look like that they was psychologically, emotionally, chemically imbalanced, like they needed to be put in some sort of funny farm somewhere. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This just didn't happen to the founder of the Windmill Ministries. This has been going on now for quite some time. Because this is the initial movement and the tactic that they have used since the Woodstock baby boom era. The very people that denied climate change just maybe up until the past 6 months to a year, and there's still people walking around saying, no, climate change don't exist. We're just going through some sort of metaphor. This is normal for all the fires out west. This is normal for the state of New York City and basically all the city or half the city in New Jersey and places like that to be inundated by water, even though they haven't never recorded a flood like this. This is normal to have a Category 4 or a 5 hurricane every year. Sometimes 2 or 3 every year. Sometimes more than that. Oh, this is normal. Right? So it's normal to have a pandemic. It's normal for us to be $30 trillion in debt. It's normal that we have all these abortions from all these whores. It's normal that we have all these people that are dying of suicide pertaining to drugs. And it's normal pertaining to all this gun violence. I got news for these people that try to convince people like me that this shit is normal. Because it's not normal. I can remember in the 60s and throughout the early 70s to where you didn't hear of stuff like this. I'm sure it went on in various places. I'm sure. Because the media wasn't so intense like it is today. But there wasn't as many mean people back then as it are today. Ever since the ordeal happened, and I don't remember exactly the year, I'm thinking it was somewhere in the early 70s, whenever the Halloween come along and the trick-or-treaters wound up biting into razor blades and tacks and pins and needles and poison, and they put cyanide and Tylenol, and that's whenever they had to take the medication and put seals on it. That way it prevents innocent people from grabbing a hold of a pill bottle in case it's been opened. They'll know that it's been opened. Ever since the early 70s, I have seen this thing twisting, going backwards. The very opposite of peace and utopia. I've seen it continually, steadily, gradually going in the opposite direction towards total chaos. A chaotic country, a chaotic neighborhood, a chaotic state. And as far as I'm concerned, we're not too far in behind Baghdad. We're not too far in behind a third world country right now towards what we do and how we act, and killing all these unborn children and having all these drug overdoses and seeing all these illegal aliens coming over our borders. I could just go down a long list. Almost 3 million people incarcerated in our federal, state, and local prisons. I mean, I could go on and on and on of the occurrences today that did not exist in the 60s and throughout the 70s. So you can't tell me that these things are normal. And if you're listening to people that tell you that these things are normal, get the hell away from those people. Because those are the people that's either lying or they're brainwashed themselves to the point that they're blind, and the blind wants to lead the blind. Because I got news for you. Being $30 trillion in debt and seeing our roads dilapidating and bridges fall apart and seeing our country walk away from God the way that it has, none of this has been normal. None of this has been normal. The way that these people responded and reacted towards supposedly law enforcement in your backwoods alley courts, none of this is normal. Towards attacking an innocent individual and poisoning him to the point that now I have to walk around suffering with declining health issues. Coming back to Northwest Tennessee and being attacked not just by one family, not just by two, but possibly 8, 10, 12, 15 families in the neighborhood that was dead set that they didn't want me coming back here. Even though this was my homegrown area where I was raised up at. My father and mother come from this area. Both my grandmothers and grandfathers come from this area, in addition to my great and great grandfathers and grandmothers came from this area. Like I don't have a right to be in Northwest Tennessee. I don't have a right to be in Weakley County and Obion County towards participating as a Tennessean, even though I wasn't born in Tennessee, but I've always had a Tennessee driver's license. Always. I've never had any other driver's license other than a Tennessee driver's license. All my life. And anybody that's got any kind of capability about them at all can look that up. Under the Witness Freedom Act or Information Act, anybody can look that up. That this old boy has always maintained a Tennessee driver's license. Now, there's been times that I've lived in other areas that I thought about changing my driver's license. I've thought about changing my citizenship from being a Tennessean to being a Mississippian to being a Coloradian to being a person that lived out in Arizona, or a person that lived out in California, or a person living up in Kentucky, or a person living down in Florida or North Carolina. Yeah, there's been states that I've thought about it, but I didn't do it. I didn't pursue it. So I've been locked in with the state of Tennessee, and you're more than welcome to look up my driving file, my record. Well, if I'm supposed to be so, I'm going to use the word inadequate or crazy, because that's a word that they're throwing around a lot now in today's society. If I'm supposed to be so inadequate or crazy, how come I have an impeccable driving record and have had an impeccable driving record, I guess, for the past 20, 25, 30 years? Impeccable. And I'm not saying tomorrow I may end up getting a speeding ticket, or there may be a bad cop watching a four-way stop, and I may not come to that complete stop and do a Tennessee Waltz type stop, and he's liable to ticket me for not stopping at a stop sign just like I should, or in the way that he feels appropriate towards me stopping. I'm not saying that I'm not capable of getting a ticket, but what I'm saying is the record that I've maintained for the past 20, 25, 30 years in the state of Tennessee has been a very upstanding record. So if I'm supposed to be so damn crazy or so far out in the left field to the point that I'm psychologically, emotionally, chemically imbalanced, how come I went all over the countryside, driven from coast to coast 4 or 5 different times, lived basically temporarily in about 35 states, seen America again and again and again, which is one of the most beautifulest places on the world as far as I'm concerned, and I don't have a harsh driving record. If I'm supposed to be all these things that all these people would like to imagine that I am, that's just it. I'm not. And I think the people that has analyzed my work, they have listened to the things that I talk about. They have read the things that I have put out to the open population. I think by now they should have a pretty good understanding towards who I am. But yet no, am I getting anything that's even remotely close to being like this? Juby, what can we do to help you, man? They railroaded you. You're not this bad monster like they all promoted towards you being. What can we do to support you and back you? Have I gotten any of those knocks? Have I gotten any of those telephone calls? Have I gotten any of those emails? All the above. No. A matter of fact, they're still wanting to bury me around here. A matter of fact, the quicker that I die, and the quicker that my voice quits resonating the thoughts and the vibes that's coming out of my vocal cords towards a lot of these people locally around here, the sooner the better. I know how they feel about me. Thing about it is, I don't feel that way about them. Yeah, I'll tell you what I think about you to the degree of where you went wrong or what you have done that you shouldn't have done towards trying to correct you, not for my benefit, but for your own, because you have brought some sort of injustice in somebody's life, such as myself, by doing the things that you've done. But I'm not doing this to hurt you. I'm doing this for practical reasons as far as justifiable criticism, productive criticism. I'm trying to help you. But yet now, I can't meet up with that group of people that's honest enough with themselves and honest enough with me that they're willing to take that first step and say, you know what, Jimmy, maybe you are right. Maybe the country does need to go in a different direction. Maybe all this stuff that is happening to us right now is stuff that we've brought up into our own lives. Have I heard any of the preachers made any type of statements like that, or stop at my door, or make a telephone call? Have I gotten as much as one letter knowing that they know the address out here at 291 Thompson Road, Sharon, Tennessee, zip code 38255? There's more ways of communicating. If you can't make it to my door, there's more ways of communicating other than making it to my door. Have I gotten any letters? No. Have I gotten any emails? No. All of the above? No. So in the year 2021, as I'm making these digital recordings, I'm steadily watching my great nation fall completely, totally apart. And inevitably, the only thing that I can think of is that this is what these people want. They want floods, they want hurricanes, they want droughts, they want AIDS, they want pandemics. They want to be $30+ trillion in debt. They want to have 3 million people incarcerated. They want little girls, their lives to be messed up towards going out here and aborting children. They want 3 million incarcerated prisoners in the United States that has more people jailed than any other country in the world, including India and China, that exceeds us 4-1, or maybe 5-1, as far as population wise. This is the things that they want. So because this is the things that they want, you don't have to worry about me coming knocking on your door. You don't have to worry about me going back to Land Between the Lakes and going on a big fast towards fasting for peace and utopia, because obviously you didn't want it then. You did not want it then while I was up there with you. So you don't want it now. So let the damn thing come unwound. Let this train wreck happen, because obviously the people up there in that area, that's what they wanted. Rather than them embracing an individual that was praying for peace and utopia, or revival, they was actually trying to ruin him. You know, the Bible says, blessed is he who cometh in the name of the Lord, or she that cometh in the name of the Lord. Blessed is he. They're not blessing me. They're damning me. They're cursing me because they don't like my message, with me being the messenger coming out of the book of Revelations as well as John 3:16. They don't like that. And because it's too abrupt, it's a little too steep, it's a little too strong, it's coming directly out of the teachings of the Bible. Instead of this guy taking everything figuratively in the Bible, he's actually taking them literally in the Bible. I'm either frightening them, or they just don't give a you-know-what to begin with. Like I said, I've got a whole lot more enemies, just like Bill Warren, that was run off from the same territory, that put on his tombstone up in Greenfield, Tennessee, loved by few, but hated by many. And you hate to say that as a born-again Christian, because you do have a little bit of different message, or a little bit different tactics towards getting your message out. You hate to say that about a Christian, but it's the very things that Jesus predicted and already pre-warned us about, that if we was true followers of his, that we would be persecuted, we would be cursed, we would be treated as outcast, we would be looked upon as being scum. And the people that are the scum ain't the people that's calling the Christians the scum. It's the very people of the core of where it's coming from is the scum. Just like whenever the priest and the holy men and the rabbis accused Jesus of Jesus being scum, that's exactly what they was accusing him of. Be realistical about this. They was accusing Jesus of him being a liar and of him being scum. Whenever you're taking your case before the grand courts and you're accusing this person of being a blasphemer, that's the lowest of the low that you can get towards trying to tell a law enforcement person or a government. That's about the lowest low that you can get towards falsely accusing that individual of something. I mean, it's one thing to falsely accuse somebody of being a liar, or falsely accuse somebody, well, he's an adulteress or she's an adulteress. Or you falsely accuse somebody, well, I've seen her steal before, or being dishonest, or even falsely accuse somebody of being a murderer or a rapist. All them things are bad. Don't get me wrong. All them things are bad. But don't nothing exceed towards the general public trying to brand an individual such as Jesus Christ as him being a blasphemer, which basically means a fraudulent liar. This individual, we know, Pontius Pilate, we know, King Herod, that there's no way that he can be the Son of God. Even though he's raised the dead, he's healed the sick, he's fed the hungry, he's clothed the naked, he's done all the abiding things that comes out of the teachings of the original Mosaic laws from Abraham. But they still badgered him and treated him as if he was the devil himself. So because of it, and because I know these things, because I know who I am, and I know who they are, I sit dormant. I go secluse. Don't have to worry about nobody inviting me to none of their churches. Don't have to worry about no speaking engagements. Don't have to worry about getting no apologies from Land Between the Lakes, or the state of Kentucky, or the federal government coming out of Kentucky, or the state of Tennessee, or the local authorities around here in Tennessee. Don't have to worry about no apology coming from the state of Oklahoma, or the locals coming out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, the way that they blowed up my back end of my truck and refused to pay for the property damage that they had done. Don't have to worry about all their media in Oklahoma backing up and retracting towards telling the truth about how that they're still promoting the ideal that I had threatened one of their officers, in which me to this day and this officer have become real good friends. I'm not saying that we're the best of friends, but we talk, we chit-chat, we text one another, we send one another pictures. He sent me pictures this past winter of a big snow that hit out in Oklahoma pertaining to his house, or somebody's house. I'm assuming it was his. We communicate. But yet no, Channel 3, Channel 11, Channel 16 News, all the news agencies up there in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, are still got it on their books. They still got it on their records that I threatened one of their officers, even though the state of Oklahoma authorities, their prosecuting attorneys, throwed it out of court. So yes, to this day, I still have individuals that's wanting to ruin me, wanting to destroy my life, either physically, emotionally, spiritually, or in other ways, financially. They're still wanting to bring grief and injustice into my life. So all I can do at this point in time in my life is sit back, make the videos that I make, digital videos, and put out my story. And hopefully one day, as things are crumbling, being torn apart, as we're seeing our nation collapse, as the pillars of this nation are collapsing, and as we're seeing all the unjustfulness that's going on all over the world pertaining to people dying at the hand of cops and police brutality and all this corruptfulness going on with the political arena, and plus the church world not willing to stand up for the truth. All I can basically do right now is stand back, twiddle my thumbs, and wait for the next grand appearance. Regardless whether it's another hurricane, regardless whether it's another big fire, regardless whether it's another Waverly, Tennessee flood, regardless whether it's another Katrina, regardless whether it's another New York, or regardless whether it's another elevation of a pandemic that eventually even our penicillin pertaining to our vaccination shots won't even be able to help. All I can do is sit back and watch this thing unfold right in front of me, kind of like a slow motion train wreck, and pray to God. And I'm sure Noah went through the same ordeal, and I'm sure Jesus did too, and all the other prophets of God. They have sat back and prayed, Father, I pray that thy will be done. Not on earth, but in heaven. Regardless of what you're doing, why you're allowing it to be done, that I'm praying that your will be done for your glory. Not for mine, not for Beulah Baptist, not for Southern Baptist, not for Missionary Baptist, not for the Church of Christ or the Presbyterian or the Methodist or the Wiccans or the Voodooists down in southern part of Louisiana, not for the Taliban or the Jihad or ISIL or any other group, but I'm praying, God, for your glory up in heaven, that thy will be done. Regardless of how it comes, how quick it comes, how bad it is. And I sit back and I make my videos. Good luck to all of us as I'm ending the program here. Good luck to each and every one of us. Good luck to Land Between the Lakes pertaining to their administration, towards getting more cops up there, towards being able to govern that area that needs to have more cops, that needs to be able to govern a lot of the mischievousness that goes on in those woods up in that area, regardless whether it be in the state of Tennessee or the state of Kentucky. Good luck to all of us, and once more as we end our program every day, shalom.